humblemud.
GoldenEye 007 is one of those games with a reputation that precedes itself. Even if you've never touched a Nintendo 64 in your life, you're probably familiar with the game. GoldenEye was really the progenitor of console FPSs. It gave us this early, rudimentary glimpse into what the future of console shooters could be. And yeah, a lot of people agree that the controls haven't aged gracefully compared to the modern control schemes that games like Halo popularized, but when you look at everything else, the stellar campaign, all the 4-player deathmatch memories, and the accuracy to the source material that it's based on, all of that has coalesced into a game that'll likely forever hold this legendary status. Not just on the N64, but in gaming as a whole. To further illustrate how iconic this game is, I just said all of that with my whole chest despite not ever playing the game myself nor seeing the movie. Yes, you heard that right. Other than maybe playing 10 to 15 minutes of the campaign in like 2005, which was really just me fumbling through the damn level, I have never truly experienced GoldenEye. And yeah, I haven't seen the movie either. But today, all of that changes. In my journey this year to get a little more cultured as a gamer, I figured there was no better place to start than right here with GoldenEye 007. But the way I'm going about this GoldenEye experience might be a little different than what you were expecting. I'm going to be playing the unofficially released, leaked GoldenEye Xbox Live Arcade remake. Now, as far as I understand when I started looking into this thing was pretty much 90% completed. It was developed in about a year by Rare, and it was reported that they had less than 100 glitches left, which in game dev terms is fantastic. To make things even better, talented GoldenEye fans have created a community edition that brings the game much closer to the finished product that Rare started. Now, I know playing this version might upset some purists who'd rather I go straight to the original N64 version. I totally get that, I really do. But to play devil's advocate here, this was developed by the same Rare team, and the Xbox Live Arcade version is literally built off the original N64 source code. So had this actually released back in the day, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Unfortunately, licensing issues, probably from Nintendo or the movie rights holders or whoever, got in the way, and here we are. Also, since I've mentioned I've never seen the movie, I'm fixing that too. Hopefully trying to get through the game first before watching the movie won't spell trouble. I just figured as a kid that's probably how I would have done it too. Finally, as just a little cherry on top, I'm going to at least try the GoldenEye remake with Daniel Craig on the Wii. I know GoldenEye Reloaded exists on the 360, so I could have kept everything on one platform, but online I see the most praise for the Wii version, oddly enough. And GoldenEye Wii is so popular that it even has its own private online servers that people still play to this day. So by the end of all of this, beating the Xbox Live Arcade remake, watching the original movie in full, and getting enough of the Wii experience to form some solid thoughts and comparisons, I think I have created a pretty full plate for myself from the absolute feast that is GoldenEye. So without further ado, let's dive off the dam and partake in this mission, if we so choose to accept it. Let me explain why GoldenEye XBLA is so special. One thing you may notice right away is the graphics. They've been tastefully updated in my opinion. If the graphical changes don't jump out to you, it's because Rare recreated them likely how your mind remembers the N64 original looking. Just like the Halo Master Chief Collection, one button toggles between the classic look, just in widescreen, and the shiny remaster. I loved flipping back and forth between both. It was always a treat seeing their new reinterpretations versus the original look. GoldenEye XBLA has modern controls that will feel familiar if you've touched any console FPS since Halo, basically. Now, you still have that quirky GoldenEye aiming DNA, it's not pinpoint precise, but with that you also have the classic auto-aim hipfire baked in, just like the original, and truth be told, I leaned on that pretty hard. I'm not sure if it was like this in the original, but on GoldenEye XBLA, you only have the agent difficulty unlocked from the beginning, and so there were certain objectives that I wasn't able to complete or wasn't privy to. But spoiler alert, I did beat the game, and after beating it, I went back to play a couple of the missions on Secret Agent just to see how the game played out with those extra objectives. So now that I'm at the other side of this game, playing through it completely blind without even the aid of the movie to guide me, what did I think of GoldenEye? It's an interesting game, that's for sure. First off, I had to repeat many of these levels several times over in order to figure out what the objectives were or how they wanted me to fulfill them. While I did resort to looking up some of them, I tried my best to do most on my own. Initially, I thought it was a bad thing that this game isn't always clear on the order by which you need to do things or how you need to do them, and in 90% of games, this would be a bad thing. But it was in the Soviet missile silo level where I realized that I actually loved the trial and error nature of GoldenEye. On my first attempt, I took too long to find everything and wasn't able to get out of there in time, and so I had to restart the whole thing, but there were no complaints here because it started to click with me as to how this game became such a prime candidate for speedrunning. As I replayed these levels again and again and again, and got more familiar with what I was supposed to do, I found myself going through the objectives drastically quicker than I did the first time. And then I got that itch of knowing I could likely do it even better because I realized I was just short of getting high marks when it came to completion time on the level. And so GoldenEye really has this addictive loop baked in where once you know the route and know what you're supposed to do, you can glide through many of these levels effortlessly, and figuring this out gave me a lot of context as to why GoldenEye players might not even understand what you mean when you say that this game can be unintuitive, because through repetition, the objectives and mechanics become so deeply ingrained into your muscle memory that it only makes sense to not shoot this particular computer in the facility, or to make sure that you keep this scientist in the bunker alive, or whatever. It's very easy to enter a flow state in this game once you realize how to do things properly. Combine this with the fact that higher difficulties give you additional objectives and dangerous elements, and this game gains a ton of replay value. Rare knew what they were doing with this open-ended, sometimes ambiguous mission structure. And while of course it wasn't lost on me that if I watched the movie first, I probably would have understood what I needed to do better, something I found experiencing this game blind was that these levels were a mystery that I really loved solving. And considering I picked up on this naturally during my first ever playthrough, I really think that goes to show how this game was able to truly tap into something special. And this is before even mentioning how monumental the game's multiplayer is. It really can't be overstated just how much GoldenEye must have been the whole package when it originally released. Of course, there were some levels I didn't particularly enjoy, like the archives. It took me ages of running all around this maze-like structure before I realized my exit was to simply jump through a window. Again, movie context would have helped a lot here, and I realized I did that to myself. But back to the highlights. It was when I got to the surface level in GoldenEye where I felt such a sense of comfort. There are moments in games that I strive to find where it feels like the game as a whole, or at least a section of the game, enters your life at the right place at the right time. And it was within this level that I felt like GoldenEye did that for me. Being in this massive, open, snowy environment, I don't know, like something about it just felt cozy. It was hard to explain. Perhaps this was because I was playing this over my Christmas break in December. With this level's wide open feel and cold nature, it just felt really special. I even opened up my windows so that the cold air would blow through just to feel a little more immersed. I spent a lot more time on this level than I needed to, looking over every single nook and cranny. I actually had a lot of fun experiencing some of the fail states, like intentionally failing the objective. I made sure I didn't look anything up, and I eventually figured out the order by which I needed to complete the objectives simply because I loved spending time within this level. I enjoyed exploring the individual shacks and solving the puzzles of getting the MacGuffins in the order that you need to get inside the satellite properly and shut everything off, and I also loved the idea of shooting the padlocks on the grate and jumping down into the bunker in a stealthy fashion. Honestly, just shooting the padlocks in general to open doors was just such a fun thing to do, especially because in most games at the time you needed a key or something like that, and meanwhile James Bond is like, nah, I'm just gonna shoot this thing. That must have been really cool in the Nintendo 64 era. Anyways, this was a fantastic level and still, even now, might be my favorite within the entire game. One more major thing I really wanted to make sure I highlight about GoldenEye is its soundtrack. Oh my gosh, this honestly might be my favorite OST on the Nintendo 64. The composers Graham Norgate, Grant Kirkhope, and Robin Beanland didn't just make music when they approached this game. They created atmosphere, they created adventure, they created suspense, they created action, and they created a James Bond experience. This game honestly would not be half of what it is without their musical contributions, and spoiler alert, the Nintendo 64 version of GoldenEye has a better soundtrack than the movie it's based on does. If you have no desire to ever play this game, at least listen to the OST sometime. I can't tell you how many times I'd step outside the office after a play session to make lunch or do some other thing, and I would have these awesome songs stuck in my head. The music often syncs up up to match the level of the action that's going on screen, so quiet moments are fittingly quiet and moody, and active moments are bombastic. Best of all is that the familiar GoldenEye musical motifs are weaved through every single track, more or less, seamlessly and naturally. From the borderline scary score behind the statue level, the way the dam's background music sets the tone appropriately for a game with a scope like this, to the intensity of Streets, and so many more songs. If there's one thing GoldenEye has nailed down, perhaps better than almost any other game on the Nintendo 64, save for maybe Perfect Dark since that came from the same studio, it's its mood and its dynamics, and that's thanks in large part to that wonderful OST. So now we get to the movie, which, let's be honest, I probably should have watched first. To be real with you guys, I had no idea that you could drive a tank in the Streets level until I saw James do it in the movie. Watching GoldenEye the film just made me appreciate GoldenEye the game so much more. The developers did an incredible job recreating areas like the bunker, the archives, and so on pretty much one-to-one. It feels like you're on the movie set. And I was amazed at the level of detail that Rare went through to create a movie tie-in that feels as authentic as it does. I would venture to say that GoldenEye might be the, well, for lack of a better word, golden standard for what a movie tie-in game should be. From the level design to even the sounds of the guns, it was spot on in comparison to the film. Pierce Brosnan was absolutely fantastic as James Bond. I completely understand now why it was through his era of the movies that interest in the James Bond franchise was reignited. He is so suave and funny and jovial, and is often so in control of the situations that he's in that when he suddenly isn't, it really makes you care for him. It catches you off guard and you feel the same level of danger and peril that he does, even though you know he's going to turn it all around eventually. Isabella Scorupco might be the prettiest woman I've ever seen in film. She was mesmerizing and played off Brosnan really, really well. And I loved how they had these developing jokes and quips with one another that kind of became intimate inside jokes between them and the audience, and I enjoyed how those moments continued to develop and come back over the course of the film. Another thing I liked is that the movie is full of strong females who aren't powerless to James's charm in the way that I assumed that they would be, and you've got great performances all around from Isabella Famke Johnson and Judi Dench. I'm sure I mispronounced some things there. And of course, Sean Bean is an incredible villain, and Alan Cumming is delightfully annoying. Now, the game doesn't recreate the movie shot for shot. Sometimes things might be rearranged, the order by which things are done, or the people who perform the action that drives the plot. A handful of things are different, but generally the game and the movie achieve the same outcomes. All in all, yeah, I think that playing the game without seeing the movie or vice versa is an incomplete experience. Having seen them both together in tandem in such rapid succession, one after the other, was just perfect. Now, let's top it all off with GoldenEye Wii, which I don't think any of you guys were expecting I would want to talk about when you first clicked on this video. The only thing I knew about going into this game was that it starred Daniel Craig rather than Pierce Brosnan, which I'm sure was quite controversial at the time, and the only other thing I've heard about this game is that it was essentially a Call of Duty clone with a James Bond coat of paint. After all, GoldenEye Wii was published by Activision, and yeah, the DNA is there, I get it. But I also think that dismissing the game by referring to it as only a Call of Duty clone debases how good the game actually is, because, spoiler alert, I really enjoyed this one too. This game reviewed really, really well, and I'm in agreement with the reviewers here. Now, with that said, I don't know if I'm going to finish it like I did with GoldenEye XBLA, just because I'm ready to move on to the next thing. I usually do hop from one series to another, but I played through quite a few hours of GoldenEye Wii, and I had a blast. There are two key highlights to this game that I personally really enjoy.
Probably some locals trying to steal some supplies. Nothing we can't handle.
One, and you have to keep in mind that this was before the Wii Motion Plus era, the motion controls in this game are fantastic. In fact, GoldenEye Wii has specific features within its control schemes that the Reloaded counterpart on its Big Brother HD consoles do not. For example, in the Wii version, by tilting the nunchuck, you can lean over from the wall that you're hiding behind to temporarily pop out and shoot enemies, and it feels so natural and tactical, and for some reason that was just not included in the 360 and PS3 versions of the game. Another thing that I really liked when it came to the control scheme is that when you do ADS or aim down sights, there's an option that's on by default that allows you to have a pretty tight auto aim installed, which allows you to nail these really satisfying headshots. And I can understand why most people wouldn't enjoy this feature, but for me, after just recently finishing GoldenEye XBLA, which has really heavy auto-aim on the hipfire, I thought that this ADS auto-aim from the Wii version draws a pretty nice parallel to the original on the 64. And again, like I said, you can just turn it off if you don't want that. But there's also really something to be said about the level of immersion that you feel when you are actually moving your gun around physically with your hands and sneaking around corridors or scoping people down compared to when you're just using sticks. And that's one of my favorite things about first-person shooters on the Nintendo Wii when they're done well. So if you're looking for an FPS on the Wii, GoldenEye is one of the better ones that you can experience, and I say this as someone who has played a lot of Wii FPSs. Another pretty major difference between the Wii and the original that I liked about this game in comparison is that there is a much greater focus on stealth. There are also multiple routes to achieve the same objective in this game and push the plot forward, and you'll learn this as immediately as the facility level near the beginning of the game. You can run through Call of Duty style and shoot people down, and they'll call in reinforcements, and then it's up to you to run and gun from there, or you can sneak around pretty much all of these enemies and often not get into any combat encounters at all. I personally like doing a mix of both of these things, sneaking around where I could, but not being afraid to get into a fight if needed. That definitely made me feel more like a secret agent James Bond than I did when playing the original GoldenEye. There are only pockets of sneaking around in stealth in the original game, but overall when I played GoldenEye XBLA, I usually felt more like an action hero, which I suppose does line up more with the movie. But here, I think the stealth complements the tone of this game. Daniel Craig is a lot more brooding and serious, and while having Daniel as the lead is controversial, I think that had the team tried to secure rights to utilize Pierce Brosnan in the team, the game would have met a similar fate to GoldenEye XBLA. Rights holders be rights holders, am I right? Soldiers? So yeah, if you slept on this game because of the naysayers who say it's just a crappier Call of Duty, and especially if you have a Nintendo Wii lying around, I highly encourage you to give this game an open-minded try. The dam level is admittedly not my favorite because of the Michael Bay elements that they inject into it, but as soon as you get past that and start going through the other levels and just play the game and see it for what it is, I think you'll have a really good time, even if you are a GoldenEye vet.
James, come on!
Look! What the hell are they doing with one of those?
We haven't the time. Let's go.
And well, I think that about does it. 007 gets the girl and dies another day. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope I did this game justice for you GoldenEye agents out there, and I'd love to know your thoughts on the game and any stories about it if you've got any, so that I can live vicariously through you. If you're still here, thanks so much for watching, and as always, stay humble.